in the interest of Maximo Ruiz, we are here today set for our adversary.
Natalie Archer for the mother, Alicia Browning, and we're present and ready.
Gary Morales for respondent father, Marco Ruiz. He is present. We are ready.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of the child.
It's Jared Ariano.
And Mr. Ariano, how are you employed?
I work for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services.
And in what capacity do you work for them?
I'm a child investigator.
And are you familiar with the case involving the child Maximo Ruiz?
Yes, sir.
And how are you familiar with that case?
I am the investigator on the case.
Okay. How did the department become involved in this case?
We received a report on October 21st of this year that Miss Browning tested positive for cocaine on a random drug screen.
I'm sorry, it looked like you continued to talk and I couldn't hear you.
Okay, I just said that Miss Browning had tested positive on a random drug screen for cocaine.
Okay. And with that report, what did you first do?
We like to look at history and see what history looks like with the department, like as far as CPS cases.
Okay. Were you able to speak to the mother about this?
I was.
Okay. How did the conversation with the mother go? And tell me what her name is.
Mom is Alicia Browning. We had that conversation, and initially she denied any drug use. She was staying in a shelter, and she said that she could have tested positive for because of her roommate. Her roommate was acting suspicious. And then she also mentioned taking tramadol while she was pregnant. So that could have been another reason why she tested positive for cocaine.
Okay. And at the time, is Ms. Browning involved in another CPS case?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did the drug screen, did it come out? You said a random test. Did it come out of that other case?
It did.
Okay. Outside of that, did Ms. Browning have any other explanation of why she would have tested positive?
No, she just gave me those two reasons.
Okay. What was your next steps at that point?
Reach out to St. Francis because they're involved with one of Miss Browning's other kiddos.
Okay. And where was Miss Browning at the time? Did you meet her at the office or was it a phone call?
So initially I had given Mom a phone call because I heard from St. Francis that Mom was dropping Maximo off in Colorado. So I gave Mom a phone call and she confirmed that she did drop Maximo off in Colorado and was headed back to Amarillo. So we did meet in person later that evening.
Okay. Where was the child being brought back from Colorado at that time?
Whenever I was on the phone with her that day, Mom was dropping Maximo off in Colorado. Only Mom was coming back. Okay. It wasn't until the following day that Maximo came back to Amarillo.
Okay. And what was the department's concern at this time?
We had that positive cocaine result from St. Francis, which was concerning given Maximo's age. We also had concerns of Miss Browning's previous history with the department, and then also with the department being involved again, Miss Browning taking Maximo to Colorado.
Okay. At that point, did the department staff in order to do an emergency removal?
Yes.
Okay. And then what happened on the next day after the child was removed? What happened the next day? Did you meet with Mom again or talk to Mom again?
Yes. So actually on our way to placement that evening, she did message one of my coworkers with a photo of a drug screen that she took at the shelter of it being tested positive for methamphetamines. So she sent my coworker that. The following morning, I did have a conversation with Mom where she did admit that she had used methamphetamine. She still says that she hadn't used coke. She did admit to using methamphetamine just a couple of days prior to our case being initiated. and then also saying that she had relapsed on meth just a couple weeks prior to my contact with mom.
Okay. And during that time, during her admitted relapse, she was in a shelter and was caring for this child at that time. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And do you know what her current CPS case involved? Did it also involve drug use?
Yes, sir, I did. Methamphetamines.
Okay. And so there was a valid concern for the department with mom having an open case and admitting to relapsing.
Correct.
Okay. Did mom have other children with her at the department or at her shelter?
Whenever I had first initiated the case, it appeared that way. After I initiated the case, talked to the other kiddos, they're primarily staying with father, their bio father.
Okay. Did you discuss whether mom was still staying in the shelter?
I did after our removal, and she said that she was living in her car.
Okay. Had she, to your understanding, had she been asked to leave the shelter due to the positive screens?
Yes, that is what she told me.
Okay. Due to the information that you'd received and mom's admittance, do you believe it was best interest of the child to be removed
I do.
and for the department to be named temporary managing conservator of the child?
Yes.
And is that what you're asking for today?
Yes, I am.
Did mom tell you who possible father was in the case?
She did. Marco Ruiz.
Okay. And were you ever able to speak with him during your time?
I did. He mentioned having a paternity test done. He wasn't for sure if he was the father. And that was just kind of the extent of our conversation regarding Maximo.
Okay. If the department or if the court grants the temporary managing conservatorship to the department today, would you be asking for a paternity test for Mr. Ruiz?
Yes.
Okay. I'll pass the witnesses this time, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Archer?
So mom she did eventually admit to using to you, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And did she say at that time if she was willing to work services?
She did.
And did she say that she was wanting rehab?
Yes, she did.
I have no further questions, Judge. I'll pass the witness.
Okay, and Mr. Morales?
Thank you. Ms. Ariana, where was Maximo born? What city?
He was born here at Northwest.
Okay. Did Northwest report any issues at the birth, like whether or not he tested positive for any substances at birth?
No, there were no concerns with him at birth.
Okay. I'll pass the witness.
All right, Ms. Zavala?
Who was it that mom dropped Maximo off with in Colorado?
This was her stepmother. I can find the name if you need it. Melinda, I believe.
And you said within a day he was brought back?
Yes, ma'am.
How did that happen? Did the stepmother bring him back or?
So whenever I called Miss Browning that day that I needed to talk with her, this was whenever she was coming back from Colorado. She did tell me that she dropped Maximo off there with her stepmother because she was going to be taking temporary custody of Maximo. So all the department needed to do at that time, if that was the case, was send law enforcement over there just to make sure that Maximo was okay. And then Miss Browning, I was trying to get a hold of this stepmom in Colorado, and found out by Miss Browning that she didn't want to be contacted. She didn't want anything to do with the department or law enforcement. And so that kind of initiated Maximo being brought back to Amarillo.
Do you happen to know if mom is requesting a home study on that stepmother?
I don't believe so.
Okay. No further questions.
All right, Mr. Trout?
I have no further questions for the investigator at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody have any further questions for Mr. Arlon? All right, then, is he free to go on about his day's business, or do we need to keep him?
I have no objection, Your Honor.
No objection.
All right, Mr. Arlon, thank you very much for logging in and for your testimony this morning. You are free to go if you choose.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Trout, your next witness.
Judge, I'd call Alyssa Browning.
All right, Ms. Browning, if you'll unmute for me. Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, all right, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Morning, Ms. Browning.
Morning.
Could you state your name for the record, please?
Alicia Browning.
And Alicia, are you the mother to Maximo Ruiz?
Yes.
And you were here for the testimony that Mr. Ariana just gave?
Yes.
Okay. I just have a couple of questions. You had admitted to him that you relapsed a few weeks before and then used a couple of days prior to the investigation, correct?
Yes.
Okay. At this time, when was the last time you used?
Yesterday.
Okay. Are you willing to work with the department and to try to get into a treatment program?
Yes.
And to do work with the department in order to try to get Maximo back?
Yes.
Okay. What are you currently using?
Methamphetamine.
Okay. How often have you been using?
Not often. I used yesterday, and the last time before that was a week ago.
Okay. Where are you living right now?
In my car.
Okay. Are you working on trying to get in somewhere or to get a place to live?
Yeah, I'm more working on trying to get a job. So.
Okay. So currently you're unemployed right now also?
Yeah.
Okay. And you were staying at, where were you staying prior to this?
Martha's home.
Okay. And when this all came about, you were asked to leave Martha's home, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. But at this time you are willing to work with the department, and if you need help getting into a rehab program, you understand you can ask for help from the department for that?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your honesty. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Archer?
Alicia, who do you believe is the father of this baby?
Marco Ruiz.
And have you talked to any caseworker yet about getting rehab?
Yes, we had a meeting yesterday with Kayla and my parent worker. I can't remember her name all the time.
And do you have any relatives in town that might be placement for Maximo? I'm sorry.
No, the only placement was my niece's sister. She's already a foster mom. She's a really good person. That's it. I don't have any family.
Where is that person?
She's here in Amarillo. Her name's Giovanni Torres.
Have you told the caseworker about her?
Yes.
Okay. I'll pass the witness.
Does she currently have any children in her home? Ms. Brown?
Yes.
You know how many?
So she has 2 daughters that she adopted when they were 3. They're 17 now. And then she's adopting her 3 boys on Thursday, tomorrow. So their adoption will be finalized. And she was super excited to take Maximo in.
So there's already 5 children in the home.
Mm-hmm.
That may present a problem, and I just want you to be aware of that. There's some limitations.
Yeah,
Okay.
her foster care limit, I think, is what she said was 6 children in the home, if I'm not mistaken. So hopefully.
Okay, I just want you to be aware that there are some restrictions in that regard, so we'll see what we can find out, okay?
Okay.
All right. Okay, anybody have any, well, I guess, Mr. Morales, you have any questions for Ms. Brown?
Just a couple. Ms. Browning, if Mr. Ruiz is found to be the father, do you have any issues with him being placement?
No.
Okay. Would that be a preference so that that Maximo could be with his older brother?
I would love that.
Okay. Pass the witness, Judge.
All right, and Ms. Zavala?
If for some reason Miss Torres can't work out his placement, is there anybody else that you would like us to look for home study?
No.
No further questions.
Okay, Mr. Trout, anything further?
No, Your Honor, nothing further.
Ms. Archer, any further questions for your client at this time?
No further questions.
Okay, and Mr. Morales, anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Zavala, anything? Okay. All right, then, Mr. Trout, do you have any additional witnesses?
No, Your Honor. Department arrest.
Okay. All right, Ms. Archer,
No witnesses, Judge.
do you rest?
Yes, I do. I rest.
All right, Mr. Morales.
No witnesses, Judge. I'd rest.
Okay. Ms. Morales, do you mind if I ask your client a couple questions?
Absolutely, Judge. No problem.
Mr. Ruiz, will you please raise your right hand for me? You solemnly swear that you'll tell the truth today? Mr. Ruiz, I want to just talk to you about this possible DNA testing. Is that what you are requesting? You're wanting to have genetic testing done to see if you are the father of the child?
Sí. Sí.
All right. And did you ever sign any documents at the hospital or anything that indicated that you were the father?
No.
Okay. Where do you live, sir?
En amarillo. Aquí en amarillo.
Okay. And are you working?
Sí.
Okay. Who do you work for?
El Giro restaurant, Mexican
Okay.
restaurant.
I know it well. What hours do you work?
Alrededor de comienzo a las 7:30 de la mañana y termino alrededor de las 3 o 4 de la tarde.
Okay. Do you live by yourself or does somebody else live with you?
No, vivo con otras personas, con unos parientes.
Okay. Who all lives in your home?
¿Cuántas personas? Oh,
How many and who?
ok.
What relationship?
Son 3 personas más y son familiares lejanos míos. Y el nombre es Yamilet Delgadillo, Javier Alvidres y Yolanda Alvidres.
And what is their relationship to you?
Sí, somos primos lejanos.
How many bedrooms are there?
5.
Okay, so 5 bedrooms and 5 people in the home?
Son 4 personas y 5 recámaras.
I wasn't sure if you included yourself. My apologies.
Oh, está bien.
Are there any children in the home?
Mi hijo Adriel es el único.
How old is your son?
Alrededor de 15 meses. Sí, 15.
Where does his mother live?
Pues es Alicia. Creo, ella dice que está viviendo en su auto.
Okay,
Judge, if I may, Adriel Ruiz is our other case involving
Right.
mom, and the child is placed with Marco, the dad.
right, okay. All right. I thought he was talking about a completely different child. My apologies.
Yes, ma'am.
So Adriel, is he one of the 4 people or is he a 5th person?
No, bueno, él sería la 5ª persona. Pero él duerme en mi habitación, en su cuna.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Ruiz, and I will get this paternity test ordered. We'll get that done right away so we can try to get the results of that back sooner rather than later. All right. Does anybody else have any questions they want to ask Mr. Ruiz?
No, Judge.
No further questions, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, then, Mr. Morales, any additional witnesses or anything?
No, Your Honor, no witnesses. I know Mr. Reese did. I mean, we went over most of this already. He just wanted me to express that, although he is asking for DNA, given how well he worked his services on the last case and the fact that he's already, has Max's older brother, he would like obviously placement to happen a lot quicker than it did the last case. And I told him I don't think that's going to be a problem. I've talked to Mr. Trout. I don't think anybody anticipates that it's going to take a year for placement. And so I will talk to Mr. Ruiz in the event that he does. I would imagine he's probably going to need a couple of weeks to make sure he has all accommodations for a baby. I know he has a crib, but he's probably going to need a second one or get a bigger bed for Adriel or something like that. So he might need a couple of weeks, but after the DNA, but and he might, and we're not even saying that we're asking that it happen right at 2 weeks, but we're just he's got a few things that needs to get taken care of, but he's more than ready to do this if Max is his.
Okay, but he understands we need to get the genetic testing done to be sure. And
Yes, Judge.
all right. Okay. Ms. Zavala?
I have no witnesses, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Zavala, do you have a recommendation to make today?
Yes, Your Honor, I do believe it's in Maximo's best interest to remain in the temporary managing conservatorship of the department. And he is currently in a foster placement in Lubbock. I I am very much open to placement with dad if that if the paternity test comes back that way. I'm also familiar with Ms. Torres, and if there aren't limits in her home, I'd be on board with that as well.
All right, very good. Thank you. Okay, Ms. Browning, if you are strongly considering inpatient, you know, this is the ideal time for you to do that. Because your son's placed in Lubbock, which makes visits, you know, a little trickier anyway. But if you're gonna do this, I feel like now is the time to do it. You know, let's try to get you back on track as quickly as we can. And, you know, that alleviates you living in your car for this period of time. I just think it's the ideal time for you to try to do this. I know we've had some wait lists on beds for inpatient treatment, but the sooner, you know, we can start looking at that, the better for you. Is that something you think you would consider doing right away?
Sorry, I was hoping more for outpatient, but I will consider it.
All right, I'll let you discuss that with Ms. Archer. But there's some logic to me in just going to the inpatient rehab, get you out of your car. I mean, we're getting into winter time. You know, that it concerns me for your safety. All kinds of reasons why I'd prefer you not to be living in your car. But you know, visit with your attorney about that, and then, you know, one or the other, I think, is extremely important that you do.
Okay.
Okay, then. At this time, then I do find the evidence is sufficient to name the Department of Family and Protective Services as the temporary managing conservator of the child, Maximo Ruiz. I find there will be a continuing danger to return the child to the care of the mother at this time. Mr. Ruiz is an alleged father, and so till we have genetic testing done, we won't place with him, but I'm going to order that genetic testing to happen as quickly as we can get it done. Obviously, we'll expect, if Mr. Ruiz is the father, that I will expect Ms. Browning and Mr. Ruiz to work, you know, appropriate services for us with Mr. Ruiz. That's more like just maintaining appropriate housing, employment, transportation, those kind of things. I will see everybody back for our status hearing, and that's scheduled for December 16th of 2025. That'll be on a 9 o'clock docket, so we'll talk more about services at that time. Ms. Browning, if you do make the decision to go to inpatient, if you are still there at the time of that hearing, you know, most facilities are really good about assisting to get you logged in for the hearing. If for some reason you can't, Ms. Archer would be present for you. You know, I would certainly understand if you couldn't be present at that next hearing, but most of them are pretty cooperative with getting our people logged in for hearings. So hopefully I'll see you at that time, and I'll see everybody else back then at that time. So anybody have any questions?
No questions, John.
All right, then. I appreciate everybody logging in today. And Ms. Nunez, thank you very much for your assistance. That's the only thing that we had today. So everybody have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank y'all.